welcome back to Movie Review Mom. I'm the mom and I do the movie reviews. And if this is the very first time you've discovered my YouTube channel, yay, you found me. I've been waiting for you. My goal is to give families the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so that you can make the best decision for you and your family as to whether or not you want to spend time and money watching a specific film. So the specific film I'm reviewing today is called The Adventures of Peanut and Pig. This new colorful animation from Vision Films is available on video on demand, streaming, and cable platforms on April 5th, 2022. It's rated TVG, but that translates into a movie that's rated G. It's 75 minutes long, and I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell, and then I'll point out things I liked and didn't like, as well as offer tips for parents to give you the heads up and themes worth talking about as a family if you watch this together, and funny lines and interesting lines, and then I'll top it off with recommendations for another movie that I think that you'll really like, especially if you like this one. Okay, so in a nutshell, as I mentioned, this is an extremely colorful animation, and it proudly boasts that it's from the producer of the movie Hoodwinked. I really enjoyed that movie and thought it was super cute. So I was really excited to see what this movie was going to be all about. Just so you know, it is very different from Hoodwinked in style, story, quality, and direction. This one is directed by Carl Targ. The story is about the floating island paradise of Ghoul, which is said to be the most beautiful place to live in the world until one day the island begins to sink. Now this Zootopia is in big trouble, and it's up to an unlikely team of rival monkeys, a scientist bunny, and a jolly pig to put aside their differences and use their own unique strengths to save the day, all while learning about friendship and bravery along the way. Now, let me point out the things that I really liked about this movie. First of all, the animation is not as sophisticated and detailed as we've typically become used to seeing nowadays. But the fact that it's computerized can inspire young filmmakers to try their hand at designing a film on their own laptops. At times, I kind of felt like I was in a VR chat room. That's the type of animation that this felt like. There are a lot of very humorous transitions and gags that will make both adults and kids laugh, and sometimes out loud. It's very energetic, and you feel like you've just chewed a bunch of bubble gum because of the color and the animation and all of that, and the kidness of it. I know that's not a word. The voiceover cast includes Louis Ferreira, Peter New, Kelly Metzger, Mark Akeson, and Marika Hendricks. All right, now let me tell you about some of the things that I didn't really like or thought could have just been done better. And first of all, I realized that young viewers will not care at all about the things that I'm going to mention here in this section. They'll generally be entertained for 75 minutes, although I don't think that they'll be riveted to the story. It seems more like a movie that just kind of plays in the background on the TV while the kids are playing with their toys in the room. Do you know what I mean? Some of the editing, especially at the beginning, made me so dizzy. The camera scanned scenes of digital images way too quickly. And I was like, is it me? Am I just getting too old, or what's happening there? And kids might actually feel like they're on a roller coaster and think that that's good fun. Adults are going to have to look away, which is what I had to do, because it was like, oh, slow down. And it wasn't like, here's a scene and here's a scene, or even here's a scene, here's a scene. It was like, it just made me really dizzy. And then on top of that, I was really just bored within minutes because the characters just aren't that compelling. It dives into the story, which is kind of a complicated plot with lots of advanced vocabulary and technical jargon. And, I'll get to tips for parents here in just a second. Generally, you want to introduce the audience to the characters and have them fall in love with them, or be intrigued by them, right? They skipped kind of all of those steps and they just went straight in to the story and what's happening, which is fine. But again, it just didn't feel like it allowed me time to see who these characters were and think, oh yeah, fun. I can't wait to see what they're going to do. There are some visual, spoken, and text jokes, as I mentioned, quite a few, but that there are many that kids just simply aren't going to understand because they're going to fly over their heads. Not that it's adult humor per se, but that it's also adult vocabulary, too much so for young audiences, I think. Having a sophisticated British accent for a sloth seemed like an odd choice for one of the characters. He was dressed like the evil emperor from Star Wars, if you know what I mean. And come on, everyone knows that sloths are super cute and awesome. So that just seemed like a mismatch. At the 25-minute mark, all of a sudden, the movie turns into a musical. And I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming. There are actually 3 musical numbers in the whole movie, but unfortunately, none of the songs are very good or memorable. So I wouldn't say that it was really a strong point of the movie. But for little kids who, again, are playing on the rug, they may look up at the TV once they hear the music. And there are a few moments of musical numbers that sort of reference older musicals that adults might get a kick out of. Now, let me give you some tips for parents. I already mentioned that the vocabulary is really too advanced for young audiences, which is the target audience. For example, does your kid know what obtuse means or porcine? Yeah, I didn't think so. There is some burping for laughs, which is typical for movies that are targeted towards kids. Animal characters are in perilous situations. There's lots of destruction, lots of mayhem, lots of running around, and some bullies. So some of the themes that are illustrated in the movie are persistence to solve a problem, thinking outside the box, friendship, working together, unity, that kind of thing, sacrificing for the good of others, and courage. So I always write down funny lines and interesting lines so that I can share them with you and you can kind of get a feel for the quality of the content, I guess. And so I include them all on my written review at moviereviewmom.com. I'll just share a couple of them with you right here, right now. So there's a line where Peanut says to Uncle Monarchy, "You should always trust your better judgment." And then Uncle Monarchy says, "Then I'd be wrong." And I thought, I sometimes feel like that. And then Peanut has a lot of the funny lines that I think will appeal more to the adults because they're kind of clever. For example, he says, "I'll have you know that figure of speech is offensive and entirely accurate." Little kids aren't even going to appreciate that, I don't think. And then another line that Peanut says is, "It's days like this that give days like this a bad reputation." Ba-dum-bum. And then there's an interesting line that I wrote down that this little female bunny rabbit says. And this might be worth having a conversation about with your kids if you watch it with them. She says, "It's not what the guy does, but how he does it that counts." And I think that's worth a conversation. Do you agree or disagree? Ask your kids what they think about that. It's not necessarily just guys, but people in general. Anyway, talk amongst yourselves. Overall, I think this movie was a bit of a miss for me. Hopefully you and your kids are going to enjoy it. My overall movie review mom grade is a C-. And I always feel badly giving grades of C's or C-. And my husband always reminds me, well, that means it's average. And so I guess you could say it's average. It's not great. And I was disappointed. But before I go, let me give you a recommendation for a truly fabulous movie that I loved, and I think that you'll definitely love. It features animals on an adventure and a lot more than that. There's a little bit of a mystery, kind of like in this one as well. Anyway, it's called Zootopia. It's adorable. And the sloths that are represented in that movie are epic and spot on. My husband and I went to Panama a number of years ago and actually got to rescue a sloth that had somehow slowly, because they move very slowly, ended up in the meridian of a freeway. We were traveling in this van and we pulled over, ran over, got this sloth. We were with this tour guide, so he knew how to do all of this correctly. But so my husband got to hold him, and he had to have been terrified, the sloth, not my husband. And yet to look at his face, he was kind of like, dude. He did not look frightened, but I knew he had to have been. Anyway, we drove the sloth to an animal rescue location, and my husband got to put him up in the tree, and he slowly climbed up. The sloth, not my husband. Anyway, totally adorable. Love that movie. I hope if you watch this movie that you do enjoy it. If not, I gave you the heads up. And by the way, click on the link down below on the description, because I've got a discount for you that'll make it a little less painful to watch this online or pay for it. All right, have a fantastic day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.